He opens the door and it's his dad. His dad asks if he still hasn't found a job. He notices Jang's clothes and asks if MC's into cross-dressing too. MC realizes that whatever he tells his dad, it's going to be troublesome. So he decides to tell him that the sister of one of his friends is living with him. He later introduces her to his dad. She is about to call him dad too, but stops halfway and asks MC how should she address his dad. MC tells him to address his dad as uncle. She does as he tells her to. His dad asks him if she's his girlfriend since she almost addressed him as dad earlier. Source: My wife is from 1,000 years ago. Welcome back to Anime Beta. During a rainy afternoon, a young man with no umbrella is rushing toward a building. As he goes upstairs, he encounters a young woman staring at him with a murderous look, just about to draw her sword. He is scared for a moment or two, but gets somewhat calm after looking at her peculiar dress. He deduces that she's probably just a cosplayer who's taking shelter from the rain. When he is about to open the door, she shouts at him to stop. Nevertheless, he doesn't get scared this time around and enters the house telling her that it is his house. Afterward, he feeds his cat, Wintermelon, and takes a soft drink out of the refrigerator for himself. He opens the door thinking that she is probably left by now, but much to his surprise, he finds her looking back at him. He then offers her an umbrella since it's raining outside. She asks him about the place they're currently in, to which he replies that it is the neighborhood of Biwang Road. She introduces herself as the disciple of the Salt Gang. Thinking that she has some kind of syndrome in which a person gets stuck in her cosplayed character, he decides that it will be better if he calls security for her. He invites her inside the house since it's cold outside. He dials the number to call the security guard outside his building, whose name is Zhao. She is looking at the television when she suddenly draws her sword out of its sheath. She stabs the television with her sword and looks at the young man with a murderous look on her face. He hangs up the call after seeing the look on her face. She asks him about the people inside the television. He then asks her to put the sword down. He tells her that he is a good guy and he means her no harm. Hearing this, she puts the sword back as he was the one who was trying to lend her an umbrella earlier. He asks her about her name. She tells him that her name is Jiang He and she is a disciple of the Salt Gang of Gusu. He then asks her if there's any way he can help her. She tells him that the only thing she wants to do is to go back home. He asks if she knows about Zhangchen City, the city they're currently in, to which she gives him no reply. Just as a joke, he asks her about the emperor during her time as if she is an ancient person. She refers to the emperor as His Majesty. He gets surprised by her answer but goes further on and asks her about the year she thinks they're in. She tells him that it's the 16th year of Kai Yuan. He then looks up and asks her if she recognizes any of the names. Out of all the names he mentions to her, she's only able to recognize the name Li Bai, who was a very famous poet during the Tang Dynasty. A food delivery guy arrives at the door. Zhang immediately draws her sword, but he stops her saying that they're not a bad guy and are just here to deliver food. He receives the takeout and offers it to her too, but she rejects it. However, he keeps pumping her to eat. Accidentally, his soft drink gets dropped to the floor. Thinking that it's poisonous, she immediately draws her sword. Understanding the situation, he picks up the can and drinks it himself in order to prove that it's not poisonous. Once he finishes his drink, he asks her to stop drawing her sword every waking second. After seeing her aggressiveness, he thinks of 3 situations to deal with her. The first one is to kick her outside and the second one is to call the police. However, he decides to go with the third option, which is to observe her while letting her stay. He chooses the third choice because he does not want to pass up an opportunity that is much similar to a scene from a fantasy novel. He offers her some food again, but seeing her reaction, he asks her if he should take the first bite to prove that it's not poisonous. Upon her agreement, he takes the first bite. But when he actually thinks about it, he realizes that this food may not be that good for her body. So he tells her that he'll make a rice bowl for her later. Afterward, Jiang He asks him about Lei Bai. He asks her to put her sword down since he's about to tell her something that will be hard to process for her. He tells her that she might not be able to return back home since she's now 1,200 years in the future. After hearing this, she calls him a liar, but he assures her that whether she believes him or not, she will eventually understand everything. He tries to stop her from going outside, but she points the sword at him. He tells her that she needs to understand the laws in order to stay safe. She asks him about his reason to help her. He tells her that he took winter melon and when he was outside. With a frustrated look, she asks if he's looking down on her. He goes on to explain further that he is curious since this kind of incident does not occur every day. He informs her that if they can figure out why she came here, they might be able to find a way for her to return. But in the meantime, she'll have to learn to live in this world. He tells Jang Hee that the first thing she needs to learn is that she can't go around hurting people since public officials are everywhere nowadays. He asks her to put the sword down as she understands what he just said. She drops the sword on the ground and then asks her to take a bath while he orders a meal for her. He then takes her to the bathroom to explain to her how the shower works. Since he doesn't have women's clothing, he gives her one of his t-shirts and tells her that he'll buy some clothes for her tomorrow. After she's done bathing, he hands her a list of current issues that need to be addressed. She tells him that she's unable to read it. He asks her to put her straw shoes away and wear one from the shoe rack. The delivery boy arrives and she gets scared again, but he calms her down by telling her that it's a food delivery. He notices that she is much like a homeless wildcat since she is cautious and wary. He takes the food from the delivery boy and gives it to her. She tells him about a saying her second-in-command used to tell her. The saying goes, if a person has the intention to do something for you, he must be a thief. Nevertheless, she tells him that she thinks of him as a good person. After Jang finishes eating her meal, he tells her that if by any chance she kills him with the sword, she can survive a week by hiding in this house. He then goes on to explain to her what television is. He assures her that neither he nor these devices will ever hurt her. However, he does tell her that the outside world is complicated and dangerous for her. He later tells her about the identification card that is given to everyone at birth. He also tells her that police officers are patrolling the streets from time to time, and if they find a person who doesn't happen to have an identification card with them, they will take the person away for a detailed investigation. He tells her that if she is caught carrying the sword, she will be put in prison. She questions how she is supposed to trust him. He tells that it is already difficult for him to assist her in the current circumstances. So if she can't trust him, there's no way for him to help her on his own. She asks him what she needs to do. He tells her that the first thing she needs to do is to not draw her sword at any time in the future, as it is a very scary thing for the people of his time. She asks him about his wife. He gets somewhat nervous by her question, but tells her that he is still single at the age of 20. He goes on to inform her that it is pretty common for a man and woman to be alone in a room together. He then tells her that she can live in one of the other rooms where he used to store all his stuff. While leaving the room, he wishes her good night and tells her that his name is Xu Qing. As NC is about to sleep, he reminisces about the things that happened to him today. From an ordinary start of the day with job hunting to an unordinary meeting with a girl from the past. He designates it as a really complicated situation. But rather than worrying about it right now, he decides that he'll worry about it tomorrow. He wakes at 10 o'clock thinking that maybe what happened tomorrow was just a dream. But as he heads out of his room, he sees Jiang sitting on a sofa with the sword in her hand. He tries striking up a conversation, but it ends badly. Trying to change the topic, he asks her if she is hungry. She nods in agreement. Suddenly, she remembers something and rushes to get it. She comes back and places 2 pieces of silver in his hand. He asks if she has some gold pieces too, but since she doesn't have any gold pieces, she tries to give him her necklace. According to Jiang, that necklace can be sold for some money. However, MC doesn't take it and tells her that he can still afford to feed her. He also asks her to take the silver pieces back. He realizes that the clothes he gave her yesterday don't seem to fit her at all, so he tells her that he's going out to buy some clothes and food for her. He advises her to stay inside and not go out. While he is brushing his teeth, he thinks about the police station opposite the apartment he lives in and deems it as a blessing in disguise. Because of this, there aren't a lot of spot checks around this area. He goes outside and buys a bunch of clothes for her. After shopping for 1 hour, he goes to a bookstore and buys 2 books. Afterward, MC decides to go back home. Later on, he is stopped by Zhao about the call yesterday. He tells him that it was just an accident. Zhao warns him to stay cautious since there seem to be some thieves lurking around. When he enters the room, he invites Jang to eat with him. A bizarre idea comes across his mind and he asks her to say, "Many thanks, young hero," which is an archaic way to say thanks used by martial artists in Chinese novels. She is feeling confused, but she does as he tells her to do. After finishing their meals, he hands her the clothes, shoes, and other daily necessities he bought for her earlier. However, she holds out a bra and asks him about the usage of a bra. But seeing the bra makes him panic and he tells her that she should figure it out on her own by watching some video tutorials. At last, he gives her the 2 books he bought earlier. One is about history, whereas the second one is on traditional and simplified Chinese. He asks her about how she got transported to this world yesterday. She informs him that she was chasing a thief during the storm yesterday. She later lost her way, and while she was trying to find her way out, she saw tall buildings. Hearing this, he realizes that there are no forests around here, so he asks her to get comfortable with the idea of living here. MC asks her how good is she at martial arts, like how high she can jump down without getting hurt. He gets surprised when she tells him that she can jump down from the 4th floor without getting hurt. MC asks her if she can teach him martial arts, to which she refuses by saying that he is too old and that even if he has the determination and patience, he will not be able to achieve anything. Feeling disappointed, he asks if he can learn sword techniques instead, but she refuses that his hands will not be able to keep up with his eyes and vice versa. He gets extremely disappointed after hearing this. He asks her to go and try on the clothes he bought for her earlier. MC even tells her that if it doesn't fit, he'll go back to the store and change it. As she goes inside the room to change, he rushes toward the sword and grabs it. He tries swinging the sword, but since it's heavy, he's having a hard time. She enters the room after changing her clothes. He then asks her to move around so he can check if the clothes fit her well, and end up noticing that he should buy her a new hairband. NC asks her to discard the current one since it doesn't coordinate well. However, when she lets her hair loose, he gets flustered by it. Later on, NC is watching the news when Jang enters the room. As he notices her confusion, he explains to her what a computer is. She asks him about the work he does to make money, to which he replies that she'll understand it once she's more familiar with the world. He asks her about the martial arts level of her chief. She tells him that he's very strong. MC shows her a video of a character from a movie that's using martial arts and asks her how would she compare her chief to this character. She misunderstands all of this and asks him if this is the true power of the people of this era. He explains to her that this is all fake, and this is what the people of his era imagine the people of her era to be like. After she understands everything, he comes back to the question and asks if her gang leader was as skilled in martial arts as the character. She tells him that it's comparable only if they disregard the superhuman movements. She tells him that people of her era normally focused on only one aspect of their movement. She even tells him that movements as skilled as these were only used by the second miss of her gang. However, Jan does admit that even her martial arts skills are not as good as the 2 characters from the movie they're currently watching. He asks her if she has learned the skill to move her hands so fast that it becomes a blur. He gets surprised when she actually gets up and does the move he was talking about. After demonstrating the move, she asks him to let her know if he wants her to teach him the move. Hearing this, he starts jumping like crazy. After entering her room, she takes a sigh of relief because she now knows that his end goal is to learn martial arts. Afterward, Jiang starts swinging her sword to train. Hearing her train, MC gets anxious, but he decides to take a nap due to exhaustion. As MC is about to sleep, he admits that it feels incredible to have a female martial artist sleeping in the opposite room. Upon waking up, MC decides that he's gonna take her out for a stroll and show her the world. As he's about to take her outside, he advises her not to speak unless necessary and stay quietly by his side while they stroll outside. While leaving, he asks her to not take the sword with her as it may cause problems for her. Jang hesitates for a while, but eventually submits to his demand. As they go outside, he starts explaining to her everything they see. She gets nervous when she sees a delivery boy on a scooter, but he calms her immediately since he doesn't want her to cause a scene in the middle of the street. They later come across a middle-aged lady who seems to recognize Jiang, but can't seem to remember her. The lady later asks MC if the girl beside her is his girlfriend. but he refuses the assumption, saying that they're just friends. The lady remembers Jung eventually and tells them that she saw her holding a sword on the stairwell yesterday. Hearing this, MC tries to clear the air by saying that it was just a cosplay. They start talking about what cosplay is, but MC leaves before the situation could escalate into something bigger. As he walks away, he feels somewhat lucky that it was not anyone kind-hearted like Zhao or anyone else Jang bumped into, because that would have ended badly. A car goes by and MC tries to explain the mechanism to her behind it. However, for her, it hardly makes any sense. He later sees a CCTV camera and explains it to her as a device that the authorities use to monitor everyone. She picks up a stone from the ground to destroy the CCTV camera. Understanding what she's about to do, MC stops her before she can do anything. Later on their stroll, MC explains to her what a traffic light is and that not following the traffic light will not only cause problems for themselves, but also for cars. They go around the city visiting many places while MC is explaining everything to her along the way. They later go to a place where he buys a hairband for Jung. When she wears it, he admits that it does suit her. They visit a restaurant where MC orders meals for both of them. He tells her that the food they ordered yesterday was also bought from this place. They start eating the food after it arrives. While eating, MC understands that she's having a hard time understanding all of this at once. So he decides that he'll take it one step at a time. After finishing their meal, they decide to go back to the apartment. While Jang is washing up, he asks her if she believes him now or not. MC tells her that she can start living here independently once her identity issue is solved. However, she tells him that she still wants to go back home. He tells that she can't do it since it's 1200 years in the past. Jang eventually asks him about the solution to her identity issue. He tells her that since he's not a government official, he has no idea of how to solve it right now, but he does tell her that he'll fix this problem eventually. However, MC tells her not to worry since he'll be there to help her. Jang says the words he taught her earlier, "Many thanks, young hero." He asks about the piece of paper he showed her yesterday. She tells him that he was the one who balled it up and threw it in the dustbin. Jung asks him about what will happen if her identity issue can't be sorted out. He tells her that she'll be treated as an unregistered citizen and wouldn't be entitled to any rights. He also tells her that if she had been transported to this place 20 years earlier, this issue would have been less complex as compared to the dilemma they're facing now. Later on, MC asks her to go and study the world's history first, since it'll help her to have a basic understanding of the world. Jang asks if she's being a bother to him by staying at his place. But he tells her that he doesn't have any problem as long as she doesn't try to slice down everything she sees. MC feeds Wintermelon and asks Jiang to leave if she doesn't have anything else to say. He later messages his best buddy, Qin Hao, who is currently a local police officer. He asks him if he want to go and grab skewers with him. Qin immediately agrees to the proposal. After MC takes a shower, he realizes that he has still not bought a pajama for Jiang. He thinks that she hasn't taken a shower since she's been here because she doesn't have a pajama. But what he doesn't know is that she takes a shower daily secretly. On Saturday, he gives her a writing tablet and asks her to practice writing on it while he feeds Wintermelon. He gives her a hamburger to eat and tells her that he's gonna meet a friend tonight. MC explains the mechanism to contact him using the computer to her. He leaves the house hoping that she should be fine. He reaches the place where they were supposed to meet. He goes up to Qin and they catch up for a while. Qin tells him that he initially thought when he joined the police that he'll be valiantly engaging with crooks and performing heroic deeds by rescuing damsels in distress. But much to his surprise, he only gets to deal with trivial issues like breaking up a fight between couples, quarrels in the neighborhood, etc. Qin's dream of being a police officer started when he was young. But since his height was 0.1 meters lower than the minimum requirement, his soul got devastated and MC was the one who consoled him at that time. Qin later got lucky and the height requirement for police officers was scrapped. Instead, they tested how high one could jump. Qin started practicing high jumps every day and was able to achieve his dream of being a police officer. MC gets to the point and asks Stin in a hypothetical situation what would happen to someone if someone wants an identification card for themselves and tells the authority that they've lost their memories. However, Kin Hao says that it's literally impossible since that someone could have committed a crime and later gotten plastic surgery. And now they just want to get a new identity and commit the same crimes again. Kin tells him that there's no way a person exists and there exist no traces of that person in the past. He even quotes Edmund Locard, who said, "Every contact leaves a trace." MC King starts teasing him by asking him to stop dreaming since his job involves mediating arguments between old ladies. Kin has now gotten drunk and he blurts out that he'll eventually become a detective and get featured on television. MC pays the bill. The owner of the place tells him that his store is currently giving out skewers worth 50 yuan for free if a person purchases skewers worth 100 yuan. Hearing this, MC remembers about Zhang and takes the skewers for her to eat at home. After MC gets a taxi for Kin, he leaves for home. When he gets back home, he finds Zhang sleeping on the sofa with Wintermelon. When she wakes up, MC gives her the skewers he bought for her. He tells her the way of eating yogurt and asks her to eat the skewers too before they get cold. While walking back to his room, MC admits that it feels great having someone to wait for him at home. Later on, MC walks in and finds out that she's still studying. He asks her if she has figured out the way to wear a bra. She gets flustered thinking about the bra. He tells her that he's gonna teach her the use of a hairdryer first. When she's using the hairdryer, she decides that she's not gonna keep relying on MC and try to get a good understanding of this world as fast as she can. The following day, Jiang walks in while MC is watching the news. She asks him if he's working with the authorities. He tells her that if he would have been working for the authorities, he would have gotten her identity issues sorted out by now. MC goes out to buy some breakfast for the both of them. As he is walking out of the apartment, he is stopped by Zhao. The lady asks him if he has heard anything strange while sleeping last night. MC tells them that he has been sleeping peacefully at night for the past few days, so he hasn't heard anything strange. One of the other guys tells him that they think that the building is haunted. The guy tells them that something has been scaring his dog for the past few nights. MC asks Zhao if he has seen the ghost too. Zhao tells him that he didn't see it, but the CCTV camera did. All of them go to the security room to check the CCTV footage. But as soon as MC sees the footage, he understands that it's Jiang, and in an attempt to clear the air, he tells everyone that was just a ghost passing by since it didn't come the following night. MC goes back to the house. He asks Jiang if she has been sneaking in the middle of the night without telling him. She asks him how he found out about it. He tells her that the CCTV camera recorded her movements. He later advises her to always go with him whenever she wants to head outside. He asks her about what she wants to eat. She tells him that she wants to eat something healthy. He suggests that she should eat cat food then. Afterward, he tells her about the washing machine and asks if she has any clothes that need to be washed, so she can throw them in the washing machine. She goes and brings a piece of cloth to throw in the washing machine. MC asks her about the piece of clothing she brought. She gets embarrassed as he asks her about it, so she runs away taking that piece of clothing with her in sheer embarrassment. He later understands that it was a foot binding, which is actually an ancient practice in China where the feet of young women are painfully bound to change their shape and size. MC realizes that when he had seen her feet earlier, they looked fine. So he couldn't that the cloth he saw earlier was for binding her feet. It takes him some time to realize that she actually uses the cloth to bind her chest. And that is the reason that she didn't try the bra he bought for her earlier. He now feels like a total scumbag upon this realization. Jiang gets angry and calls him Deng Tuzi. Deng Tuzi was a person who lived in Chu State, and his name is now used as a synonym for a lecher solely because his wife was ugly, and even despite her bad looks, he had 5 kids with her. So MC actually takes it as a compliment that Jiang called him Deng Tuzi. Afterward, he jokes around with her for a minute. He later plays a tutorial for her to learn to wear a bra because the clothes would go to waste if she doesn't learn. After 5 minutes, Jiang asks him if the people of his era live their life in an immoral way. He tells her that people like to wear what they are comfortable with, so she has to get accustomed to it. However, she is just unable to accept it at this point. Trying to calm her down and change the topic, he introduces her to games. She starts loving it the moment she starts playing it. The reason he introduced her to games is that he didn't want her to leave once she is familiar with the world. After an hour, he stops her from playing the game and tells her that he's going to teach her about Du Dizhu, which is a popular gambling card game in China. After MC finishes teaching her about Du Dizhu, he decides to take an afternoon nap since he doesn't have to do anything. As he is about to fall asleep, he thinks that it is good that he didn't land a job on that day since he would have to resign anyway. After waking up, he informs Jiang that both of them are going out for dinner to the east side of the district. He advises her to let her hair loose and wear a dress so that people may not recognize her for the mysterious figure from that night. She agrees with him and dresses as he tells her to. He gets flustered seeing her like this, so he asks her to change into what she was wearing earlier. Hearing this, she is almost about to hit him, but she holds herself back. She again wears the clothes she was wearing earlier. As they are walking outside, they encounter Zhao, who calls Jiang, the girlfriend of MC. MC denies the assumption and says that they're friends. Zhao is holding a baseball bat made of peach wood. Back in ancient China, priests actually used wooden swords made from peach trees to ward off evil spirits. Zhao later tells him that he has ordered another one and is gonna be delivered in a few days. After talking with him for a while, both of them take their leave. As they are moving forward, Jiang asks him what a girlfriend is. He explains a little bit to her but tells her that she'll eventually understand once she has gotten accustomed to this world. MC orders a boba tea for her while she is looking up at the sky. Both of them later swap their meals because Jiang doesn't like the taste of boba tea. After finishing their drinks, MC suggests that they should take a stroll since it will help the food digest. They take a bus and he asks Jiang to not be nervous. He asks her to take the window seat to get a good view of the scenery. He tells her that he thought that she would be curious and excited, but she is pretty chill about sitting on a bus. She reveals that she has sat in a horse-drawn carriage before. They later disembark the bus when bus reaches Lanjiang. Seeing all of this, Jiang asks him if it really has been more than 1,000 years in the future. He tells her that since she has read some of the world's history, so deep down in her heart she knows the answer to that question. He later takes a picture while telling her that the humans even paid the mood a visit. He even tells her that once they have her identity issues sorted out, he'll bring her on a plane to experience the skies. But in the meantime, she'll have to live in his shabby house as she learns more about the world. And she can live her life the way she wants after she has learned enough about this world. After a while, they see the fireworks going off. Jiang tells him that if the second miss of her gang would have been here, she would have been really happy. MC tells her that now she has to experience all of this on behalf of her whole Salt gang too. Back at home, NC is reading a newspaper where the headline is about a bandit on an electrical pole. Jiang is looking outside the window where some people are watching a priest perform an exorcism. Jiang asks MC if every person in his era lives as though they are in prison. MC explains to her the lifestyle he follows is of a shut-in. As she doesn't understand a single thing he just said, he tries explaining it to her in detail that a shut-in is a person who chooses to stay home and not go out as it is tiring. Jiang tells him that she wants to go outside. Hearing this, MC simply starts blurting out random things as a typical shut-in would. He tells her that she has to take one step at a time, and that she has learned a lot since she came here a month ago. He tells her that he'll take her out once the whole ghost fiasco dies down. He tells her that he is now gonna find some ways for her to earn money. He chooses the job of a power leveler in an ancient fantasy game since it's the best option for her to earn money right now. A power leveler is paid to grind character levels in a video game. Someone knocks on the door. He panics and asks her to hide in the back room. He opens the door and it's his dad. His dad is actually the landlord and he's letting him live in exchange for rent. His dad asks if he still hasn't found a job. He asks him if he really needs to find a job even if he is paying the rent on time. Hearing this, he gets angry and tells him that he'll raise the rent if he doesn't find a job by next month. When his dad is leaving, he notices Jiang's clothes and asks if MC's into cross-dressing too. MC realizes that whatever he tells his dad, it's going to be troublesome. But he decides that telling his dad that a girl lives with him would be less troublesome than admitting to cross-dressing. So he decides to tell him that the sister of one of his friends is living with him. MC goes to Jung's room and asks her to open the room. He later introduces her to his dad. She is about to call him dad too, but stops halfway and asks MC how should she address his dad. MC tells him to address his dad as uncle. She does as he tells her to. MC's dad takes MC to the side and asks him to tell him the truth. His dad asks him if she's his girlfriend since she almost addressed him as dad earlier. However, he denies the assumption. He asks for a spare key for Jung since he doesn't want his mom and dad to bump into Jung in his absence. He later pays his dad the rent and asks him for the spare keys again. While handing the spare keys to MC, his dad advises him to pay the rent on time and also tells him that if he can't find a job, he'll increase the rent every month. MC admits that the only reason he's renting the house from his dad, even though it's expensive, is that he knows that this way this house and all of his dad's wealth will come to him eventually. MC's dad tells him that his mom wants to have a meal with him. We'll continue the next part in next few weeks. Meanwhile, subscribe and watch our other contents posted in our channel. Until then, stay safe. Bye.